Hey there, everyone. It's me again, Mr. Wilson. I am coming to you live from my living room. Going to try to keep this video a little bit quicker than the other one. I can't imagine listening to me drone on about crap for 27 minutes was super enthralling, although I did show that video to my family, and they said it was awesome. So they may have just been, making me feel good. But at any rate, that one was more about design principles. This one, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the actual program that we're using to put together your designs, which is called InDesign, Adobe InDesign. Now, at this point, if you're watching this video, you should have already downloaded it and you have it on your computer. And if you haven't, you've already talked to me and you asked me questions and we figured it out. I'm going to recommend with this video that rather than watching it all the way through and taking notes or whatever you might do, I think you should actually launch InDesign and watch, a couple minutes of the video, listen to me talk and kind of explain some things, and then hit pause, and then go try it on InDesign on your own computer and make sure that you kind of get a sense of how it works. And then if you need to watch it again, watch again. And if it still doesn't make sense, ask me some questions. Happy to help at any point, so just email me questions if you have them about this. Our goal here, our job, is to create a story mod, a one-page magazine story design. And when I say mod, I mean it's designed in a rectangle, right? That's all that mod means. So for our purposes, that rectangle is going to be one 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I have already launched InDesign. It's down here at the bottom. And I'm going to just click on this background. Once you launch InDesign, you should have a screen that comes up that's sort of like this. This little Pac-Man guy in the corner here indicates that I am actually logged into InDesign or logged into Adobe so that I have access to those products at home, just like you should have. I have some options here in terms of the types of screens that I might want to use. One of them just says letter. It's 8.5 by 11. If that doesn't pop up automatically on yours, you can go to Create New, or I can go to File New here. They all take you to the same place. If I go to File New Document, this screen is going to pop up and I'm going to have, again, some of the same choices that I had before. I want to talk briefly about picas. Excuse me. Picas is a measurement that we use in InDesign that is equivalent to 1/6 of an inch. There are 6 picas in an inch. So you can see the height of this page, which is 66 picas. If you divide that by 6, it's 11. 51 is 8.5. This is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can change your units of increment to inches if you'd like to, but again, we normally work in picas, so I would recommend just keeping it in picas. I can change the orientation of this page to make it wide, but I don't want to, so I'm going to keep it tall. I only really need one page, but we're going to talk often about spreads. So when you design in what's called a spread, which is 2 pages next to each other, your start page number has to be an even number. I have number of pages too. Your start page number has to be an even number. So if I had starting on page 2 and 2 pages, that's 2 pages right next to each other, which is called a spread. And that's, again, how we normally design. For your purposes for this assignment, it's just start page 1, number of pages 1. Not going to worry about putting columns on it because I'm going to show you how to put columns on a story. And I'm going to click Create. And you should get something that pops up like this. It's a blank page. The only thing that you can actually see is this purple sort of margin line. It's set at a 1/2 inch is the default, or 3 picas, all the way around the page, and everything else is blank on it. And so what you want to do first is kind of take a look at the different menus that are on here. Again, yours may pop up a little differently than mine, and I have a whole bunch of stuff in here that I'm not really going to use. So one shortcut I'm going to show you is if I hit Tab on my keyboard, it's going to take all those menus away, so I'm just looking at my page, right? If I hit Tab again, it's going to bring them all back. Now, that's kind of useful because there's a lot of clutter on here, but also this one that runs across the top that's called the Control palette, and the one that's on the left, which is called the Toolbox, those you pretty much always need. So to get everything else to go away, but to keep those on the screen, I hit Shift-Tab. And that takes away all this stuff, but keeps those. And again, Shift-Tab brings them back in case I need them. All of those menus that are on the side are also in Window. So if I'm looking for color, for instance, I go here and I have a couple different ways that I can look at the color, and I can bring back the swatches menu, and I can make this a little bigger so I can actually see that there are some colors in here, and I can mix a bunch of colors if I wanted to. Okay, so let's design something. So I'm going to start by just putting something on the page. I'm going to start with a box. You have two different boxes. The frame tool indicates typically that you're going to put something into that box, like a photo. The rectangle tool is sort of more designed to just be a rectangle, but you can actually place a photo in that one as well. So I'm going to just draw a box like so. Mine comes in with a line around it so I can see it. Okay. And if it didn't, I can go up here, and that tells me that there is a black stroke around my box. And I'm going to select it again. There's no middle. The middle is empty. So if I click in the middle, I can't click it because it doesn't actually click. So I'm going to click on the actual edge of the box, and let's put a middle on it. And you notice this is the same menu as I have here. I'm just going to make it red just so we can see it. So now I have a black line around a red box. Okay. And now that I have a middle, I can move that around. Okay, I can use these corner points to size. This will become very clear and self-evident to you. You'll understand how this works. Okay, I can mess around with the box tool by going back to it. You'll notice if I hold Shift on my keyboard and then draw a box, it draws a perfect square. Okay, then I can fill that in with a color. And again, I just want you to kind of mess around with this. That time I clicked and let go, and I'm still on my rectangle tool, so this menu is going to pop up, and it's going to say, I can draw it whatever size you want. Tell me what size you want it. So I'm going to type in 25 picas wide and 14 picas tall, and click OK, and it will draw me that, and I'll fill it with another color so we can see it. And then I'm going to switch to what's called my pointer tool, which is the top one. We're going to talk about both of these, but this pointer tool at the top, I'm going to drag that box. And you'll notice it does some cool things where it sort of lines them up automatically. So if I wanted that, look at those are all exactly the same distance apart. You got this nice kind of line here. It's actually starting to sort of look like a design, a terrible one, but you get the idea. Okay, so I have these boxes on the page. I'm also going to show you these tools here that have little triangles in them. If I click and hold, I can change to a different tool. This one has a polygon tool and ellipse tool. So I changed to the ellipse. Again, I just clicked and held in the toolbox. Change to the ellipse, draw myself some circles. Okay, get the idea. Change to the polygon, draw myself a polygon. The default is a hexagon. Okay, that looks like that. If you wanted a polygon that had a different, not 6 sides, click and let go. Bloop. Okay, I can change, again, the size, but I can also change the number of sides. So let's make a 38-sided figure. Star inset, that's, you'll see in a second, 50%, I'll put that, and click OK. I get that kind of weird looking shape, right? How often are you going to use that? I don't know. But anyway, you know how to do it. Okay, so you'll notice on some of these, you can see like a blue line around the object, right? Not just the line that's on it, but also a blue line. And I can see this as well. There's a print preview mode in InDesign that I often toggle in between. The easiest way is to just know the shortcut. And the shortcut is to hit W on your keyboard. Not if you're on your text tool, because that'll type a W. But if you're on your pointer tool and you hit W, okay, it'll make everything go away, and including those margin lines. So now you have a sense of like, this is what it's actually going to look like when it prints. This is the version that helps, the lines that kind of help you see what's what. This is the version that prints. And all I'm doing is hitting W to toggle back and forth between the two. Okay. All right, I got a bunch of junk on the page that I don't really want. Let's add a little bit more junk and then we're going to delete it all. Line tool, some of these, you just mess with them and you'll figure them out, right? I can draw lines. Okay, I can change the thickness of that line to make it super thick. If I hold my Shift key and I draw a line, it's going to only let me draw one at 180 degrees or 45 degrees or 90 degrees. I don't know my math, so I don't know if those are right or not, but you get the idea. Okay. One other thing to kind of keep in mind when you do this, and you're kind of messing with some of these shapes, is if I have a shape here, I got my swatches box on purpose because I like to have it here, but it is also appearing here. There's two different controls for the color. One is the fill, which is yellow. The other one is the stroke. And right now the stroke is underneath the fill. And you have this little arrow, I can swap them, right? So they just kind of flipped, right? And I'm going to undo that because I don't want to do that. Okay. If I just click on it, it'll bring this one to the top. And now, if I wanted to change the stroke to something bigger so I can see it, now I can actually change the color of the stroke independently of the color of the fill. So I'll go back to that yellow, I'll change that to red. You get the idea. I'll go back and click on the green. I just click where it is and it pops it onto the top, and I'm going to change that back to black. So you can kind of change what's what with that. Okay, I am in a view right now called Fit in Window. And basically what that means is it makes this page as big as it can make it and still fit it on your screen. I'm on a laptop and my screen's pretty small. On those computers that we have at Pally that are really giant, you can often get like 100% view. You can see the actual size view on the screen, which is really nice for designers. That's oftentimes why they use those big screens. Here I can't, but I can control like zooming in and out on this. So if I wanted to, I can go to this zoom tool and I can just magnify. This is kind of the old-fashioned way. And then if I hold Option on my keyboard, you notice how the plus turns into a minus. It'll zoom the other way. What I just did, I almost never do. Like I don't think I ever go to the magnifying tool because I use the shortcuts, and the shortcuts are much faster. That's why they call them shortcuts. Fit in Windows Command 0. So I just hit Command 0. It takes me automatically out of view. 100% is Command 1. You can see how that zoomed it in, right? And I can see here, my document tells me I'm at 100%. Okay, back to Fit in Window. There's some other shortcuts with that. The ones I use most often are Command minus and Command plus. So if I hit minus, it just zooms it out one level each time. That's as far as it'll go. If I hit Command plus, it'll zoom it in, and I can keep going and get really, really close in case I needed to just kind of fine-tune this. Like let's say I wanted to move that up just a smidge. I can click and hold and drag it like that. Or I can use my arrow tool. So I'm just using the arrows on the keyboard and I can move that up a little bit like that. And if I hold shift, actually, it'll move by a pica instead of a point. So it'll move quite a bit further. I'm going to zoom back out so you can see how that works. Right? Here's not hold. That's just me hitting the arrow key. This is me holding shift. It moves much faster. I like to move things with my arrow keys as opposed to with my mouse because you can just kind of fine tune it a little bit better. Okay, Command 0 gets me back sort of centered. I have all this stuff on my page. I'm going to show you a couple different ways to delete, and then I'm going to end this video and probably start a new one. All right, so I have all this stuff on my page. I can select multiple things at the same time and do some different things with them, right? So you have a whole bunch of stuff on your page. Okay? I can hit Command A, and that's select all, and it's actually going to put the boundary box around everything. And then I can click and drag all this stuff together. So let's say I wanted it at the bottom of the page instead of the top. I don't have to move all those things individually. I can move it all together, all at the same time. Okay, and I can move it back. I'm going to click off it. You can also drag, like on your pointer tool, I can just drag a box around the whole thing. And that'll select it. If I only drag it around things and touch certain elements, it'll just select those. So now I'm moving those, but not everything. And I'm going to hit Command A to select all again. Okay, and then I'm just going to delete, get back to nothing on the page. Okay. All right, that's it for this one. This is part 1. There'll be at least one more part, maybe 2, to try to get you to a point where you can actually figure out how to do this week's assignment. I will talk to you soon.